There was no mention in TWSA of the worlds Yongyuk had left behind. Whether it was a world of science, math, or magic, Dokja wonders what happens to a world where the regressor has died. Does everything reset along with the regressor, or does the world continue to exist as a parallel universe? He thinks he'd feel relieved if it were the former, but if it's the latter, he must stop Junghyuk from regressing to his death. Meanwhile, Gil-young calls him and asks him to show the ripped posters. Dokja tells the others to head upstairs. Hee-won asks Ji-hye if she's good with swords, and Jae-hee replies that she is experienced because she loves swords. Hee-won agrees, saying cutting something is exhilarating. She admires Ji-hee's sword, and Ji-hee tells her it was a gift from her master. Hee-won asks to see it, but Ji-hee hides her sword and says her own sword is also pretty good. Dokja suddenly feels sorry and asks Jae-hee why she can't talk to him the way she talks to Hee-won. Ji-hee replies that she admires cool older women. Gil-young senses someone's presence and grabs Dokja's shirt to inform him. Dokja tells everyone to stay quiet and wonders if he can feel Junghyuk's presence nearby. They hear some men talking about ripping the cinema posters and mentioning the 1,000 coins they paid to the prophets. Dokja whispers that these men must have entered through the ground floor entrance. Ji-hee is surprised and says she's never seen them in Chungmuro. She's even more shocked to hear about the ground floor, wondering about the poison gas. Dokja explains that each station has a different scenario with varying durations, and those men must have completed their scenario before they did. He thinks the poison gas can be neutralized using the meat of a subterranean monster. However, he notes that these men were never mentioned in any of Junghyuk's regressions. At this point in time, only Junghyuk and Dokja should know about the hidden dungeon. He wonders what could be triggering this unexpected change. The group decides to head deeper into the dungeon. A light suddenly falls on them, and Dokja and others are shocked to see them, and the boys disappear before their eyes. He is surprised to see all the torn posters, only one untouched. He reads a line that says, "A time forgotten, mankind recreated," and thinks Junghyuk left all the posters behind. Suddenly, the same light falls on them, and they are shocked at what is happening. Dokja asks Hee-won if she likes movies. If she does, she might begin to hate them. They are notified that the projection beam has shot them and that the screening will now begin for their floor. They also disappear and reach another site. The place looks like a forest, and Jae asks him, shocked, where they are. Dokja replies that they are inside a movie and thinks this world has been created by the cinema master, who will be on the 8th floor of this dungeon. The cinema dungeon's main attractions are the stages hidden within the posters. He thinks Junghyuk had planned to clear all the stages and keep the rewards for himself. Hee-won is worried because things keep getting increasingly complicated, and they wonder what movie this should be. Suddenly, they see Gil-young going to a side, and Ji-hee tries to stop him from going anywhere. A giant bug is about to attack him, and Ji-hye attacks the bug, trying to save Gil-young. This is a Titanoptera, an insect from the Triassic period, and they are shocked to see Gil-young grab the bug and kiss it. He starts playing with the insect, and Ji-hye surprisingly asks Dokja about the problem with him. He knows that Gil-young has an issue named John Henry Faber, and thinks they might be able to get through this without much of an issue. Junghyuk must have skipped this stage based on its theme, because most rewards correlate to the theme of the movie the cinema dungeon is based on. He thinks Junghyuk probably didn't know that this stage could give them a very important reward. Suddenly, Gil-young calls him because he feels someone's presence there. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, and they see some people running from the side, calling for help. Ji-hee recognizes them as the men from earlier, and they think they now know which movie they have stepped into. Seeing a monster, Dokja knows that it's a Tier S beast monster, and thinks the harder a hidden dungeon is, the better the rewards. The monster runs toward them, while they all run to save their lives. The monster chases them and attacks one of them, killing him. After that, they are notified that the Tier 7 dragon species, Tyrannosaurus rex, has become aware of their presence. Dokja grabs a stick for self-defense, and Jae asks him if he wants to fight with that thing. He replies that they have to fight it if they want to open the exit. He thinks the building should be the central research lab and asks them to remember that they are in a movie. They have to give it a fantastic finale. The monster activates its skill, Carnivorous Fear, but Dokja's personal skill blocks its effect. He asks Gil-young to get behind him, and Hee-won and Jae to spread out. In the meantime, Gil-young activates his skill, Dinosaur Encyclopedia, and says tyrannosaurs are more agile than they look. Still, they have narrow vision and are vulnerable to side attacks. He read about it in an encyclopedia when he was young, which means much younger than now. In the meantime, the dinosaur rushes toward them, and Jae asks them to run behind her as she dodges it. Dokja is relieved to see them fighting and thinks they know what they are doing. He is the only person who's fit to be a tank at the moment, and he is notified that the Tier 7 land dragon species, Tyrannosaurus rex, has chosen him as its target. He thinks Jae and Hee-won should be able to kill that thing while he is distracting it. Gil-young calls out to him, saying he will distract it and that he can do it. Dokja is shocked because because Gil-young is supposed to get behind him. Gil-young faces the monster and throws his insect toward it, which attacks its eyes. The dinosaur cries in pain, while Dokja is surprised to see this trick and thinks it's no wonder that Young-hak wanted to take him away. He then commands Ji-hee and Hee-won to attack at that moment, and they both hit the dragon with their swords. In the meantime, Dokja activates his Unbreakable Faith's special property, and the Ether AIX transforms into fire as he leaps onto the monster, driving his sword into its body. With a fierce motion, he slashes through the creature and drags his sword along its form. The others are stunned to witness this unexpected display of skill. He attacks the dinosaur with unrelenting fury, incinerating it completely. As the monster falls to the ground, it is confirmed that the beast has been defeated. He is notified that he is the first to successfully hunt a Tier 7 land dragon species, Tyrannus rex, and is awarded 1,000 coins for his achievement. The group then moves toward an injured boy. Dokja offers him some water and instructs him to take slow, deep breaths. The boy attempts to drink, but his injuries are too severe and survival is impossible. Before succumbing to his wounds, the boy reveals that the prophets had directed him to this place. He explains that prophets serve as the guardians of the revelation. With these final words, the boy dies, leaving Dokja shocked by the mention of the revelation. He contemplates its absurdity and intrigue, recognizing that in TWSA, only Anna Croft possesses the future vision skill. He suspects there are others like her out there, and after instructing the group to take a quick break, considers the implications. Dokja is soon surprised by a variety of available options, including stamina amplification, mana, agility, and strength amplification ampules. While the others savor the dinosaur meat, finding it so delicious that Dokja is nearly moved to tears, Hee-won remarks on the incredible recreation of movie-like scenarios. Jihye notices Dokja doing something suspicious and accuses him of hiding potions. She calls Hee-won over, claiming she deserves the strength ampules as a helpless little girl. Dokja, however, doubts her ploy, and Hee-won declares that since Dokja found the potions, it's his responsibility to distribute them. Dokja is reluctant to share with Jihye because of her association with Jung-yeok. A few constellations who favor fairness grow displeased, including the demonic judge of fire, who demands an equitable resolution. Dokja proposes they play rock, paper, scissors to decide the ampules allocation. In the first round, Jihye faces Dokja. Activating his personal skill, Omniscient Reader Level 1, Dokja is informed that Jihye will play scissors. She loses every round, and the group resumes their journey. Hee-won remarks on the absurdity of the situation, noting that no one hunted a Tyrannosaurus rex in the movie. Dokja justifies the altered events, explaining that this version is more entertaining and fits the action-adventure fantasy genre. The cinema master, satisfied with the film's outcome, notifies Dokja that he can proceed to the next floor. Dokja concludes that the dungeon's key is not recreating the movie's actual endings, but producing ones that please the cinema master. Meanwhile, Gil-young bids farewell to his insect companion, as dungeon rules prohibit taking monsters to the next level. However, they are allowed to bring items, including the stat amplification ampules. Hee-won and Gil-young each hold 2 potions, while Dokja has 16. Jihye is left without any. Dokja also receives a unique reward for defeating the T-Rex, a special item called the Angry T-Rex DNA Ampule, which increases all stats by 10 for 30 minutes. He realizes that while this item is usable only within the cinema dungeon, it will be critical for clearing the final floor. The group travels via helicopter and soon reaches the first ending credits. The movie's cast includes Dokja, Kim Hong, Ji-hee, and Gil-young. Each member receives 500 coins for their performance. However, a hidden scenario then emerges, revealing their next task, defeating the master of the cinema dungeon, and the reward for the next challenge is revealed to be 4,000 coins. They enter a building and Jihye asks Dokja how many more floors they have to clear. He replies that Jung-yeok should have already cleared some floors, so it shouldn't take too long. She then asks Hee-won if they can only enter the movies where the posters haven't been ripped. Hee-won explains that the posters seem to tear after a movie is cleared. Dokja urges the group to hurry, as they don't know how many movies remain. It is revealed that the cinema dungeon is a movie theater located outside exit number 1 of Chungmuro Station. The dungeon consists of 9 floors in total, including a basement floor. Luckily, the posters on floors 2 and 3 were already torn. Dokja feels relieved, noting that Inception was clever, and wonders how Jung-yeok managed to clear Fighting Destination alone. Upon reaching the 4th floor, they enter their second movie. Jihye starts feeling unwell from seasickness, and Dokja questions why the naval warfare setting chose her. He recalls a point in the film where the ship sinks and how Huin's attire matches that of the female lead. Jihye turns into the male lead's counterpart, barfing, just as a man appears, addressing Gil-young as Jeb Dawson. The group is shocked to discover that Gil-young is the film's male lead. Jihye remarks that all the lead characters have reached their positions and tied up the man from Earth earlier, believing he was the villain. She insists they should kill him, but when Dokja tries to stop her, she argues that the cinema master values action. She claims it would be better to eliminate him now. Heewon protests, saying the man appears to be more than just a movie character. He looks like a real person. Ji dismisses this, declaring there's no time for sentimentality. It's either them or him. She rationalizes her decision, stating that he's just a character and a villain, then stabs him in the chest. A notification appears indicating that the cinema master is somewhat pleased with their ending. The door to the next floor opens at the stern. Ji is triumphant, insisting her decision was correct, and urges the group to move quickly, as the master's life is at stake. They reach the second ending credit, which is noted as their nice and trick action. Dokja is stunned by their actions and finds himself torn between viewing the man as a character or a real person. After some time, they reach the 5th floor and enter the reward room. Dokja notes that this room likely does not have any movies. They are limited to selecting 2 reward items each. The room contains props and costumes from films, once used by actors in various roles. While these items are no longer mere props, Dokja considers them to be well-crafted replicas. Although they aren't as valuable as constellation artifacts, they are still high-quality items. The rewards are the reason he chose to enter the cinema dungeon. Among the items is a grade A sword crafted by an artisan blacksmith from the high-end period. Heewon admires the sword, calling it magnificent, sharp, and light. Dokja encourages her to take it, saying she finally has a proper sword. Heewon is disheartened, thinking about the 2-item limit. Dokja reassures her, suggesting she pick another item for herself while he selects one for someone else. Dokja picks up the Shield of Hercules replica, once used by the demigod Hercules. Suddenly, the group notices Ji struggling to lift Thor's hammer, a grade A blunt weapon known as the Thunder God's Hammer. Dokja approaches her and explains that it is reserved for special individuals, but Ji insists that she is special too. Meanwhile, Gil-young quietly approaches and effortlessly lifts the hammer, shocking everyone. Ji tries to stop him, claiming it belongs to her, but the group is amazed as Gil-young wields it with ease. He asks Dokja if it's okay to keep the hammer, and Dokja permits it. Ji still in disbelief, considers the situation unfair. Heewon asks Dokja what he plans to take. He selects an armor suit that looks bulky but should provide some protection. A notification appears, stating that he has gained an additional 10% damage reduction and his enemy detection skill has been enhanced, and his armor suit, named the Reinforced Armor Suit Replica, offers protection for both the upper and lower body and is crafted from solid materials. The group decides to move forward to see what their regressor, Jung-hyuk, is up to. Unfortunately, Jung-hyuk is nowhere to be found on floor 6. Dokja speculates that there may still be people who haven't seen the movie. After some time, they manage to clear the last remaining movie on floor 6. It is a thriller with a twist ending, earning them a unique reward, the skills of book and sharp observation. Dokja notes that while the skill is not for combat, it will still be useful. He believes they should catch up to Jung-hyuk anytime now. The skill enables the user to approximate a character's overall stats, which could be invaluable against characters like S or Gil-young, who are resistant to standard character profiles. They notice all the posters on the floor have been torn, signaling that Jung-hyuk is already in the boss room. Dokja hopes they won't encounter any more intact posters. When they arrive at the next poster, a light falls on them, and a notification declares that the screening will now begin on their floor. They soon find themselves at sea again, and Dokja suddenly tells everyone to get down. Many people are already present and start firing at them. Bullets rain down from all sides, forcing the group to hide behind the shield. Dokja recognizes the movie immediately, thinking it would be impossible for any Korean not to know it. He realizes that Jung-hyuk has left them one of the hardest movies to clear. Heewon directs their attention to the army of enemies and asks how they are supposed to defeat them. Ships rush toward them, overwhelming in number. Dokja feels the pressure but knows he must stay calm. He believes that despite being outnumbered, they can fight back since the movie is based on a historical battle. Suddenly, he senses someone's presence and recalls they were supposed to have 12 more ships. He approaches a man and asks about the general, only to discover that the cinema master has altered the plot. Now they must win the Battle of Myeongyang without General Sunsun. Dokja feels anxious seeing Heewon and Gil-young in danger and calls out for Ji-hye, but she is nowhere to be found. Earlier, he had asked her why Admiral Sunsun had chosen her, especially since she suffered from seasickness. She had replied that she had heard she was a descendant of an admiral. Dokja realizes that Ji-hye is, in fact, the descendant of General Sunsun, who is key to saving them in this situation. He recalls that in episode 40 of TWSA, when Ji-hye's connection to Admiral Sunsun was revealed, the few remaining readers had been outraged that a national hero chose his incarnation based on a familial connection. He finds Ji-hye hiding and approaches her, asking if she is all right. She is crying and muttering to herself, saying she will never do it. Dokja observes that she is not speaking to him and urges her to stand up, but she tells him to handle the situation because she isn't feeling well. Dokja realizes her behavior isn't due to seasickness, but because this was her late friend's favorite movie, her friend who had taken her own life. Ji-hye is stunned when he reveals this, asking how he knows. Dokja reflects that he knows practically everything about her, including the real reason Admiral Sunsen chose her. Despite hating the sea and having little care for the greater good, Admiral Sunsen had chosen her because she is the descendant of his comrade-in-arms, Iaki. Alongside Sunsen, Iaki had led the Yoseon army to victory in the battles of Dangpo and Hansando, and was one of the few who defended Admiral Sunsen when he was falsely accused of treason. However, Iaki did not leave behind enough stories to become a major constellation. It was an honorable decision for Admiral Sunsen to choose his old friend's descendant as his incarnation. Dokja reflects that he could not bear to see his comrade's descendant turn into a demon after killing her friends. Suddenly, they are notified of a bounty scenario. Those who seek death shall live, and those who seek life shall die. The clear condition states that the naval warfare god has called for their assistance. They must encourage Admiral Sunsen's incarnation, Ji-hye, and lead the Battle of Myeongyang to victory. As a reward, Dokja will receive one of the great admiral's stigmas, and Dokja is surprised to find that he can use his stigma without a support contract. Soon, the enemy army ships surround them, and he tries to wake Ji-hye, telling her there's no time to explain. He asks if she's really going to give up after surviving by killing her friends. He questions if she will let herself remain unforgiven, whether she lives or dies. Urging her to stand up, he insists she can still save a few lives if she acts now. In the meantime, enemy soldiers set fire to their position. Dokja uses his shield to block the bullets while continuing to call out to Ji-hye, trying to wake her. She remembers the good times she shared with her friends, tears streaming as she declares she doesn't deserve to live. Dokja begins to wonder if he is taking advantage of her grief. In the starting of the episode, he reflects on how he uses his knowledge of these characters to his advantage solely to survive, making him no different from Ji-hye, who killed her friends to stay alive. He tells her that the right to live isn't something anyone is given, it's something she must earn. He emphasizes that as long as she is alive, it doesn't matter whether she atones for her past or continues living a despicable life. What matters is that she has survived. He asks her if she truly wants to die there. A notification appears, indicating that he has an excellent understanding of Ji. His omniscient reader's viewpoint activates at level 2, allowing him to read her mind. He hears her thoughts. She doesn't want to die. With newfound determination, she rises to her feet. Dokja reflects on how constellations act as they please. They rarely assist their incarnations when help is needed, and many don't even flinch when their incarnations perish. However, no constellation misses the opportunity to support their incarnation when their story is unfolding. Ji-hye stands up and a notification announces that she has acquired a new stigma. She activates her Ghost Fleet skill at level 1. Dokja thinks to himself that, in the end, he has only succeeded in helping Yoonhyuk again. Ji-hye, believing she still has 12 ships to fight with, suddenly witnesses a tornado form over the sea. Massive waves crash around them. She declares she would happily die there if it meant she could have her vengeance. Out of nowhere, ships emerge from beneath the water to assist in the battle. The group is both shocked and elated to see that Ji-hye has summoned the Ghost Fleet. At the same time, her ancestor appears behind her. With determination, she swings her sword in the air, prepared to lead them into battle. The girl who once cried now commands the battlefield with authority. The group launches a powerful assault on the enemy ships under her direction. Using her newly acquired stigma, Ghost Fleet, Ji-hye assumes the role of a naval commander. Within an hour, all enemy ships are destroyed, their crew either killed or sent plunging into the sea. Only one enemy ship remains, but it too is sunk. Heewon and Dokja are left in awe at the immense power Ji-hye has displayed. After the battle, the Cinema Master is content with the new ending. The group reaches the 4th ending credit and receives 500 coins for their performance. The helping ships vanish, and Heewon offers her hand to Ji-hye, telling her she did well. Gilyong also expresses his admiration. Dokja reflects on how overpowered Ji-hye's stigma of the great admiral is, and he feels she is too skilled to remain with Young-hyuk. A notification announces that the bounty scenario has been cleared. Dokja learns he will receive one of the naval warfare god's stigmas and considers that he may also gain the Ghost Fleet skill. He is notified that he has received the naval warfare god's stigma as a reward for completing the bounty scenario. The stigma he receives is called Sword Song. Dokja is shocked because, in the original story, Ji-hye wasn't supposed to obtain this stigma until much later. He recognizes its immense value and believes it is even more useful to him than Ghost Fleet. Relieved to have acquired such a powerful stigma, Dokja feels more confident about facing the challenges of Floor 8. Heewon tells Dokja that they are returning to the theater, the Constellation Naval Warfare. God expresses his gratitude and they head back to the theater. According to Dokja, it was an excellent ending to the movie. When they return, he asks Ji-hye to rest there for a while, saying they will rescue Young-hyuk soon. She tries to resist, but he insists, asking her to do as he says. Ji-hye thinks there's no time to celebrate just because he obtained a new stigma. Dokja, however, believes the cinema master isn't someone he can face without proper preparation. Looking after Ji-hye after all he has done to save her and earn a new stigma would be meaningless if this world ended due to Young-hyuk's regression. Dokja has used the ampules and coins he saved to increase his stats sufficiently, and now he just hopes Young-hyuk is fine. Soon they enter the 8th floor sky garden, where they see Young-hyuk from a distance. Heewon recognizes him and asks if that's Young-hyuk. They wonder why he looks so fine. Dokja gets annoyed at seeing him unscathed and steps toward him. He then hits Young-hyuk from behind and thinks he would love to hit him more, considering the trouble he went through, thinking Young-hyuk was in danger. But soon he feels something odd about Young-hyuk and calls out to him, but there's no response. Heewon says Young-hyuk might be angry because of the sudden hit, but Dokja observes him closely and realizes something is wrong. Dokja recalls that Young-hyuk died in the cinema dungeon on his 8th regression, not because he was weak, but because he was unlucky. In the meantime, the cinema master reveals himself, and Dokja realizes that he is the final boss of the cinema dungeon. He is shocked to find that the boss is the polar opposite of Young-hyuk, who is now an empty shell in the cinema master's puppet. Dokja is notified that the cinema master has control over Young-hyuk, who is now ready to attack him. Dokja tries to wake Young-hyuk up and asks him to talk, but he thinks this is the worst-case scenario, and no character can stop him. Young-hyuk attacks Dokja and pushes him away, activating his Skill Force Plan Level 4. The attack is so harsh that Dokja's armor suit is damaged and his defense stat is partially decreased. Heewon tries to protect him, activating her skill Demon Slaying Level 2. She jumps on Young-hyuk from behind to attack, but he senses her presence and prepares to counter. When she attacks, Young-hyuk grabs her hand and strikes from the side. She reacts in time and dodges, but he attacks again, this time hitting her leg and hand. She swings in the air, lands back on the ground, and thinks the fight isn't going to be easy. In the meantime, Young-hyuk activates his skill 100 Step Fist Level 2 and strikes her face again. At that moment, Ji-hye also arrives and is shocked to see them fighting. There's an explosion nearby, and she sees that Yuno has defeated Heewon. Dokja and Gil-young shout from their positions, warning her to watch out. However, Young-hyuk reaches Ji-hye and is about to punch her face. She is stunned that her master is attacking her. Suddenly, there's another explosion. Dokja recalls sunfish, a bony fish found in tropical oceans that is highly sensitive to shock and dies easily. As Young-hyuk tries to attack Ji-hye again, she reacts in time and dodges. Dokja tells her that Young-hyuk is under the control of the cinema master and urges her to target the cinema master instead. The cinema master watches them with amusement. Ji-hye rushes toward him to attack, but before she can reach him, Young-hyuk intercepts and punches her face. She starts bleeding and falls to the ground. In the meantime, Heewon comes to her aid, and they both attempt to attack Young-hyuk together. However, Young-hyuk leaps from the ground, leaving them watching in shock. Heewon activates her skill, Time of Judgment, and Gil-young activates the skill, Thunder of Mjolnir. He uses his hammer to attack Young-hyuk, but Young-hyuk creates a barrier, neutralizing the effect of the thunder. The attack is rendered ineffective due to Young-hyuk's immunity against electricity. The constellation of pure good alignment remains silent against Heewon's request, leaving her shocked at the rejection of her plea. She wonders why her skill was cancelled. Dokja thinks the rejection was expected. While Young-hyuk may be ruthless, he has always acted for the greater good. However, Dokja is taken aback by how far Young-hyuk is willing to go, even to the extent of attempting to kill his team members. Dokja activates his personal skill, Character Profile, which fails to load fully due to the overwhelming amount of information. It converts into a character summary. As the summary appears, Dokja discovers that Young-hyuk's transmission stigma is already activated, a powerful stigma that reactivates the skills Young-hyuk had mastered in his past regressions. Counting on Gil-young, Dokja asks him if he knows what to do. Meanwhile, Dokja consumes the enraged T-Rex DNA ampoule, despite his reluctance. His stats amplify for 30 minutes, filling his body with vitality and unleashing a mysterious power within his heart. Dokja activates his personal skill, White Star Weapon Aura, Level 1, thinking about how he can compensate for his lack of skill with his boosted stats. He is notified that the skill level has increased. Confident it will work, Dokja presses forward. Meanwhile, Junghyuk activates his own skill, Blue Star Weapon Aura, Level 2. The two rush toward each other, their swords colliding with immense force, sending both of them flying back. Dokja calls him Sunfish and taunts him to attack again. Their swords clash once more, but Dokja struggles to keep up with Junghyuk's sharp and sudden moves. Even with his stat boosts, Dokja realizes he's barely holding on and needs to find a solution soon. Activating Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, Level 2, Dokja reads Junghyuk's mind. He senses Junghyuk's pain and hears his thoughts, wondering how many more times he has to endure this endless cycle. Dokja observes that Junghyuk has already given up and urges him to get a hold of himself, calling him an idiot. Junghyuk, lost in his thoughts, believes everything will reset if he regresses again. His companions will lose their memories, and the history they shared will be erased. Dokja realizes that the cinema master is exploiting Junghyuk's unstable state of mind to control him. Though Junghyuk's mental barrier skill was once at least level 8, his current vulnerability makes him susceptible to advanced mental attacks. Junghyuk questions what he is fighting for, and Dokja mocks him, asking how he can call himself the main character when he is only on his third regression. Junghyuk believes he is the only one left in the world. Dokja counters, reminding him of his vow to live for the greater good. Junghyuk, struggling with his inner turmoil, wonders if he should simply regress again to end his suffering. As Junghyuk's body begins to burn up and his eyes tear, Dokja activates his personal skill, the fourth wall. Junghyuk feels utterly alone, but Dokja denies it, shouting that Junghyuk is not alone and reminding him of all they've endured together. He attacks Junghyuk again, but Junghyuk blocks it. Dokja asks him how he can think he's alone when Dokja is there to help him. Dokja recalls the times they shared, when Junghyuk died in the cinema dungeon like an idiot, when he cried over his dead sister, and when she was killed after the prophet's betrayal. Dokja urges him to remember the first time he loved someone, the heartbreak of losing her, and the times he fought the Demon King, opposed the rulers, and even helped the outer gods and fought against the reincarnated, and remembers reading all of this in the TWSA novel. He tells Junghyuk to remember when he finally stood before the constellations and says he has watched his struggle to survive. Junghyuk tries to attack him again, but Dokja blocks the attack and thinks to himself that he keeps reading so that he can stay. However, he believes he may have gone a bit overboard since he was only supposed to stall for time. Junghyuk leaps toward him again, their swords clashing and causing widespread destruction. Dokja observes Junghyuk's eyes and notices a flicker of consciousness. Junghyuk then asks him who he is, leaving Dokja shocked. A notification appears, warning Dokja that the fourth wall is being shaken due to excessive immersion. Dokja pushes Junghyuk back and wonders if his words brought him back to his senses, though he knows it couldn't have been that easy. Meanwhile, the cinema master is visibly flustered by what Dokja just said. To regain control, he strengthens his hold over Junghyuk, who grabs his head and collapses, unconscious once again. Dokja had expected this outcome. There was no way it would have been that easy. This time, Junghyuk's Blue Star Weapon Aura grows even stronger, and Dokja laments the unfairness of fighting against the protagonist, amazed at how much stronger Junghyuk has become in such a short time. Dokja calls out to Junghyuk, asking if he remembers what he had asked him before. He reminds him that he had asked for permission to punch him just once. Dokja thinks Junghyuk will undoubtedly become much stronger than him in the future. Meanwhile, Gil-jung observes something strange and starts covering his nose and mouth. Dokja activates Unbreakable Faith's special property, transforming the ether AIX into fire. Believing he might overpower Junghyuk just this once, Dokja activates his stigma, Sword Song, to launch an attack. In reality, Sword Song is the naval warfare god stigma, known as one of the most powerful combat buffs in existence. Its effects are randomized, leaving Dokja uncertain of the exact boost he will receive. Despite this, he decides to make the most of his situation. A notification appears, revealing a phrase left by the naval warfare god. Amidst the raining arrows and the barrage of gunfire, Dokja feels as though a thundering storm has engulfed the battlefield. He launches his attack, and this time, Junghyuk is affected. Junghyuk begins bleeding from multiple wounds. Seizing the opportunity, Dokja rushes toward the cinema master. Before Dokja can attack, however, Junghyuk activates his skill, Resuscitation Level 2. Junghyuk steps in front of the cinema master, fully recovered, and Dokja is stunned by how quickly he healed. Dokja calls out to Gil-jung, who is in poor condition but has summoned a grade 6 monarch-level insect, Titanoptera. The cinema master is shocked to see the massive insect, while Gil-jung greets it cheerfully. The enormous insect attacks, and Yoongyuk attempts to fight it off. The cinema master smiles, knowing Yoongyuk is protecting him. However, Dokja suddenly appears from behind and demands to know why the cinema master is smiling. Dokja launches an attack, but the cinema master counters by using a mind control skill, attempting to take over Dokja's mind. The cinema master believes he has gained control, but is shocked to find an empty void where Dokja's mind should be. At that moment, Dokja activates his personal skill, the fourth wall, and successfully lands a hit on the cinema master. A notification appears, informing Dokja that he is the first to defeat the simulation of the cinema master and awarding him 9,000 coins for his achievement. Additionally, the hidden scenario's clear condition has been met, earning him another 4,000 coins. Dokja reflects on the cinema master's failed mind control attempt and wonders if he was protected by the fourth wall. He rushes toward Gilyoung, who has fallen unconscious. The massive insect, Titanoptera, has also defeated Yoongyuk. A notification appears, announcing that the barrier surrounding the cinema dungeon is disappearing. After some time, the insect departs. Dokja stares at Yoongyuk, who lies unconscious on the ground. Heewon approaches Dokja and asks about his condition. He inquires about Jihee, and Heewon assures him that she is fine. With this, the third main scenario draws to an end, and when they come outside, they are shocked to see that Seoul has been destroyed. Gilyoung points out a shooting star, which looks breathtakingly beautiful. Dokja observes the star and thinks shooting stars are often omens of an upcoming main scenario. It is said that a catastrophic nightmare, unparalleled by what they have experienced, awaits them at the landing sites of these shooting stars around the world. Gilyoung prays as he watches the shooting star and asks Dokja if he will make a wish. Dokja replies that he has already made one and won't share it because wishes are said not to come true if revealed. Dokja reflects that his wish is to survive and witness the epilogue of a certain novel. However, he knows a brand new hell awaits them after the sun rises. The hidden scenario has been completed, and at the same time, the main scenario emergency defense has also concluded. They receive 1,000 coins for their achievements. Dokja is surprised to see the completion notification and learns that the fourth main scenario will begin shortly. It hadn't even been 10 minutes since the third scenario ended. Dokja asks Jihee to stay with Yoongyuk, telling her she wouldn't be of much help down there right now. He also mentions that Yoongyuk could cause problems if he wakes up, and Dokja jokingly adds that he wants to smack him on the head again when he gets back. The Dokkabi, annoyed, says Dokja might be the cause of his death since he nearly gave him a heart attack earlier. Dokja asks if the Dokkabi has filtered the chat because he might have said too much. The Dokkabi replies that he has no intention of ruining his channel and that such information gets filtered automatically. Dokja reflects that while constellations possess immense wealth and power, they are not omniscient. If his guess is correct, what he said earlier would have been filtered similarly for the constellations. He recalls discussing all of Yoongyuk's past incidents and realizes it wouldn't have been any less severe than this, as this was how the novel hid the fact that Yoongyuk was a regressor in the early chapters. The Dokkabi assures Dokja not to worry because the constellations don't hear as much information as he fears. Dokja wonders if this filtering is a restriction in place for feasibility. The Dokkabi explains that there were too many messages, so he blocks some out at his discretion. Dokja asks him to show messages from the highest-paying constellations. He is then notified that a few constellations, seeking the truth, have taken an interest in him, and the constellation's secretive plotter is intrigued by his presence, gifting him 2,000 coins. Suddenly they pause for a moment, and Heewon offers to carry Gilyoung because he looks tired. Dokja hands Gilyoung over to her and asks Heewon if she overheard what he said earlier. She surprises him by replying that she heard the entire conversation. Dokja becomes worried, thinking she was too far away to hear anything. Heewon seems uneasy and asks who he really is and how he knows so much. Dokja replies that he knows the future partially. Heewon is stunned and asks if Hayoung and Sangha know about this. She nervously questions if Dokja will kill her for knowing too much. Shocked, Dokja asks why he would do such a thing. She replies that people often act that way in moments like these, saying things like "you know too much" before killing someone. Dokja reassures her, saying if that were the case, he would have killed everyone much earlier. He clarifies that he didn't mean it like that. He tells her that the upcoming scenarios will be even more dangerous, putting their lives at risk and threatening to take something dear from them. Dokja asks Heewon to remain by his side as his companion. Later, when they reach the platform, they are surprised to see Pildo Gong confronting Hyunsung, who looks distressed. Pildo asks Hyunsung to get a hold of himself, but he seems furious. Meanwhile, Sangha and Hayoung rush toward them, and Dokja observes Pildo, who appears to have grown significantly stronger. Suddenly, notifications appear before them, announcing that the fourth main scenario scenario will begin in 5 minutes. Dokja glances at Pildo carelessly, knowing there's nothing he can do right now. The Dokkaebi appears and greets everyone, remarking on their evident resilience. He explains that he is there to discuss the fourth main scenario, which will require them to join forces with other stations. Dokja sighs inwardly, thinking he already has his hands full with just his current group, and involving other stations will only complicate matters. The Dokkaebi explains that to proceed with the scenario, they must first complete a prerequisite mission. He warns that things could get chaotic with too many people involved, which is why they need someone to lead them. In other words, they must elect a station leader. At that moment, a sub-scenario arrives, and the Dokkaebi explains it as a prelude to the main event. The rules appear in the status window. The sub-scenario, leader election, has a clear condition. They must take the white flag installed at the center of the platform. As the white flag appears, everyone immediately rushes toward it. Dokja contemplates his options, thinking that if he becomes the leader, he won't have to take orders from anyone else. Pildo sprints toward the flag, nearly reaching it when Dokja uses his contract authority skill to command Pildo to get down. Pildo collapses to the ground, and Dokja grabs the flag, stepping on Pildo's back. A notification confirms that Dokja has taken the white flag from the pole and has become the leader of Chungmuro Station. He has been granted the right to walk the king's path. If the flag's ownership doesn't change within the next 5 minutes, Chungmuro Station will remain under his command. Dokja reflects that the flag originally belonged to Jung-hyuk in his third regression, but he guesses Jung-hyuk is strong enough without it. Enraged, Pildo calls his people and orders them to take the flag for him within the remaining time. Hong and Sangha rush to protect Dokja. Dokja tosses a new shield to Hyunsung, telling him to discard his old one. Hyunsung happily accepts it and activates his special skill, area defense, to block the path of Pildo's group. Despite this, Pildo commands his men to clear the way and uses his skill, Militarized Zone, level 6, to break through the barrier. Dokja counters by using contract authority again, ordering Pildo to stay down and remain there until Dokja permits him to rise. He also commands Pildo to dismiss his men, as they're becoming a nuisance. Pildo's Militarized Zone is deactivated, and though Pildo hurls insults at him, Dokja silences him using his authority. He orders Pildo to keep quiet for the next 30 minutes, declaring that the housekeeping is done and it's time to talk. Dokja surveys the group and learns that 29 people remain at Chungmuro Station, 20 members of the Landlord Coalition, and 9 others, including his team. He thinks the number is manageable and decides it's time to make more allies. He tells the group they have 2 choices: leave Chungmuro and head to another station, or stay with him. He resolves to keep only those he can trust close from now on. Dokja recalls asking Heewon to be his companion earlier. She questions whether he never considered her a companion until now. Dokja clarifies, saying it's the opposite. He may have seen her as a companion, but that doesn't mean she saw him the same way. He tells her to think of their relationship as a deal. He needs her power, and his information will benefit her. To survive, they must maintain this partnership. Heewon then asks what she's doing in the future he knows of, but Dokja admits he doesn't know. He reveals that she wasn't in the future he knows of, making her a variable in the original story he created, and there will be another chance to pick a supporting constellation after this scenario. Heewon will be able to play a key role in shaping future scenarios if she finds a good supporting constellation. She replies that it's all too sudden and says she will think about it. Currently, Dokja asks the people to make a choice. They complain that it's way too sudden, but Dokja insists they give him an answer. He tells them they either stay or leave. He won't stop them if they decide to leave, but if they choose to stay, they must do as he says. Some people get angry, but Dokja remains firm, saying he won't beat around the bush, nor will he charge them survival fees or anything like that. They ask if he can guarantee their safety if they join his group. Dokja replies that he can ensure their protection from external threats, but won't interfere with what happens internally. A man calls out to Pildo, urging him to leave, and saying there's no need to listen to Dokja. However, Dokja says that everyone else can go without Pildo because Pildo now belongs to him. After some time, the sub-scenario is completed, and Dokja receives 1,000 coins for his achievements. He addresses the people who chose to stay, telling them he looks forward to working with them. A notification informs him that he has now become the true leader of Chungmuro Station, thanks to the power of the white flag. The group now has 24 members. Many people have joined the group and asked Dokja for forgiveness, but he tells them he is not the one they should be begging for forgiveness. Another notification states that Dokja has been granted authority over the Chungmuro group, allowing him to punish any members who disgrace them. However, their insufficient fame prevents them from being named a kingdom. Meanwhile, the Dokkaebi reappears and instructs them to begin the main game. The fourth main scenario is activated. Its name is Capture the Flag, and it has 5 clear conditions. The scenario's time duration is 2,000 coins. Their objective is to defend their flag while also planting their flag at the target station's flagpole. Their next target is Changsan Station, which is 2 stations stations away from Chungmuro. Sangha asks if they will have to fight other people again. Hong reads the conditions and explains that once they plant their flag on the target station's flagpole, the other group will fall under their control. He notes that it doesn't explicitly state that the losers will die. Sangha agrees, saying they might be able to complete the scenario without killing anyone if they assimilate the opposing group into their own. Dokja, however, thinks grimly that there's no such thing as a deathless scenario. He believes this fourth scenario will result in more casualties than any scenario before it. He then asks about the route to Changxin Station, emphasizing the need to know the layout first. Hong confirms it's Line 6, and if they move through the tunnels, they can pass through Hiwa Station, one of the transfer stations. The group decides to split, leaving some behind to guard Chungmuro while others scout ahead. Once the safety barrier around Chungmuro is deactivated due to the scenario, they can now move freely between stations. Dokja notices Pildo lying on the ground and tells him he can speak now. Dokja acknowledges Pildo's dislike for him, but advises him to adapt to the situation if he wants to survive. He puts Pildo in charge of guarding the station, telling him he won't force him to follow orders, but will reward him for doing so. Dokja also asks Pildo to think of his family, which has been separated from him, leaving Pildo wondering how Dokja knows about them. Suddenly, the group hears the sound of motorcycles. A swarm of bikes rushes toward them, signaling the start of an invasion. Shocked that the scenario has already begun, Dokja instructs everyone to lower their weapons and approach the bikers slowly. Their leader calls out, asking them to calm down, saying they are not there to fight. He introduces himself as Il-jun K, the vice leader of the Dongdaemun group. Dokja wonders if he knows him, and then it clicks. Il-jun K is one of those variables he was concerned about. His skills work on him, which confirms he is one of the characters in the novel. Dokja tells Il-jun K his name, and Il-jun K is surprised, indicating he already knows who Dokja is. After greeting Dokja, Il-jun K notices the white flag in his hand and realizes that Dokja must be the leader of Chungmuro Station. Dokja observes that Il-jun K seemed off for a moment and tells him to get to the point if he's done looking around. Il-jun K says he wanted to ensure they would also be safe and claims they came just to make an offer. Dokja asks why they should believe him, and Il-jun K responds that the rules make it clear. If they intended to fight, their leader would be there, since only leaders can plant flags. Dokja asks what the offer is, and Il-jun K explains they want to propose an alliance. The people in Dokja's group murmur among themselves about the offer, and Heewon opposes it, saying she doesn't trust them, and something feels off about them. Dokja processes their conversation, and Il-jun K explains further. He insists Chungmuro Station isn't their target. If it were, they would have come with their entire group. Dokja deduces their target is Dongdaemun Station, but Il-jun K insists they still want to collaborate since their targets differ. Il-jun K offers to share valuable information and claims they have a surefire tactic for the fourth scenario. He assures Dokja they won't regret forming an alliance with them. Dokja responds that they'll decide after meeting Il-jun K's leader in Dongdaemun. Il-jun K offers to lead the way, and the group prepares to follow. Sangha, however, questions the timing of their visit to Chungmuro. Dokja replies that if they came from Dongdaemun, they could have allied with other nearby stations, but chose Chungmuro instead because it's new and hasn't formed any alliances yet. Il-jun K promises to explain more once they agree to the alliance. The group leaves Gilyung behind, and Dokja asks Pildo to take good care of him. As they travel, Dokja calls Il-jun K and asks if people haven't said anything about Chungmuro Station. Il-jun K seems confused by the question. Dokja then asks if he knows about a scary man named Yongyuk at their station. At that moment, everyone feels something off and jumps from their bikes. Using Sangha's thread, she ensnares the tires, making the bikers crash to the ground. Il-jun K demands to know what they're doing, but moments earlier, Dokja had instructed his group to act interested, follow them, and escape if they seem suspicious. Dokja smirks and says they should have worked on their hiding skills if they intended to ambush them. He tells his group to show them the true meaning of an ambush. Meanwhile, Pildo reflects on how he ended up taking orders from a young boy like Dokja. Suddenly, his men inform him about a fight happening nearby. Dokja and his team are in the middle of battle, and the constellation of pure good alignment approves of their skill use. Heewon remarks that their opponents are nothing compared to the cinema dungeon enemies. Hong and Dokja swiftly overpower the bikers. Abruptly, Dokja receives a message from Pildo that Chungmuro is under attack. Dokja immediately breaks away, instructing Sangha to tie the captured bikers up. He rushes back toward Chungmuro to handle the unfolding situation, and seeing the direction the attackers came from, Dokja deduces they must be the Myeongdong group and suspects they've teamed up with Dongdaemun. Their goal is to plant the flag, and they claim they'll be done once they accomplish that. Dokja notices the flag in one of their hands and realizes that the person holding it must be the leader. Their leader, Hui Kim, activates the effect of the red flag, boosting the Myeongdong group's attack and defense by 5%. Dokja confirms that the red flag in Hui Kim's hands signifies his status as the leader leader of Myeongdong Station. The flag's color determines its strength in this battle of flags. Starting with white, the colors red, navy, brown, purple, and black grant progressively stronger buffs to the leader and their group. Since they have a red flag, it means they've either taken over another station or killed its leader to seize the flag. While observing, Dokja notes that the Myeongdong group isn't bad on the battlefield, but their skills aren't sufficient to take over Chungmuro Station. In the meantime, Pildo activates his militarized zone level 6 and starts private property, launching a series of attacks. He strikes multiple opponents simultaneously, forcing the Myeongdong group to regroup. One of their members yells that this wasn't part of the intel they gathered, and Hui Kim orders them to retreat. Before they can escape, Dokja appears from the other side, blocking their path. He activates Unbreakable Faith's unique property, transforming the ether into fire, and begins burning the fleeing attackers. Their flag falls to the ground, and many are injured. Pildo rushes toward the fallen flag, but Dokja calls out to him, warning him to return to the station. Unless he's itching for a beating, Pildo reluctantly retreats, and Dokja picks up the flag himself. With the red flag now in his possession, Dokja's white flag evolves into a red flag. The white flag absorbs the contribution points accumulated in the red flag, bringing him one step closer to the king's path. It is revealed that as the flag's color upgrades, it boosts not only the stats of the leader, but also all the members of their group. This mechanic explains why stations attack others to upgrade their flags, leading to continuous wars between stations and their leaders. Dokja tells Pildo to go a little easier on the attackers, but Pildo counters, asking how he's supposed to go easy when they're attacking so aggressively. A notification informs Dokja that the remaining members of the Myeongdong group are awaiting his orders. He realizes there's little useful information he can gather from them now. He speculates they likely knew who was at Chungmuro before attacking, as Il-jun-K seemed puzzled when he learned Dokja was the leader. Dokja wonders if the prophets told them about Chungmuro beforehand. Later, Dokja approaches Il-jun-K and asks what he plans to do now. Il-jun-K replies it depends on how useful he can prove himself. Dokja remarks that the constellations have deemed the group evil and suggests trying torture to make them talk. If they refuse, they'll be killed. Dokja begins counting to 3, moving his sword closer with each count. By the time he reaches 2, with the blade near Il-jun-K's mouth, the latter blurts out Dongyo. He reveals information about Dongyo Station and its inhabitants, calling them the prophets. Dokja orders Sangha to use her light thread to silence Il-jun-K. He observes that the prophets are using hypnosis to prevent information about them from leaking. However, Dokja believes this could work in their favor, as hypnosis only works on individuals they've met face to face. As long as they keep Il-jun-K hostage, he could lead them to one of the prophets. Dokja then goes to check on Jihi, where Yoongyok is still unconscious. She asks about the situation downstairs, but Dokja reassures her not to worry. She inquires about her master's condition, and Dokja explains that Yoongyok isn't as mentally prepared as she might think, but will recover after a good rest. Jihi notices that Dokja seems to know a lot about her master, and he replies that he knows him better than anyone else in the world. He gives her a letter and asks her not to read it, instructing her to give it to Yoongyok when he wakes up. He knows that she will probably read it, and it's filled with words that only Yoongyok would understand, so she won't get it. He wonders if what he wrote in the novel is censored for the constellations. The constellation prisoner of the golden headband expresses his distaste for censorship. She calls him, asks for permission to ask a question, and mentions their conversation earlier in the morning. Dokja is worried that she heard the conversation and thinks he might have spoken too carelessly, not considering who might have been nearby. He plans to play dumb for now and asks her what he said. Suddenly, she starts shouting at him, saying he promised himself not to think that way. Dokja is surprised by what she said and believes there's no need to mimic what he said. Ji asks him about his resolution. Ji-hee calls Yoongyok and says he promised her to always be on her side and that he should never lose hope. Dokja wonders why she is twisting his words. She thinks he wrote a love letter to her master and says she will make sure that he reads his love letter. Many constellations are shocked by what was censored. The constellation prisoner of the golden headband respects his orientation, while the constellation demonic judge of fire is delighted by his comradeship. The constellation's secretive plotter is flabbergasted and gifts him 600 coins. She asks him about a weird CD and whether they too have adopted one. Dokja leaves and tells her to ask Yoon when he wakes up. He then thinks about how he never came across the name of the prophets, which could mean one of two things. He thinks a particular variable has caused another prophet other than Anna Croft to appear, and he suspects there must be another reader like himself. However, it's most likely the latter, as prophets are a rare breed. After some time, he accompanies Han and Sangha. Sangha asks him if he is sure they don't need to bring more people. Dokja says they are going to decide what to do with them, not to fight them. He explains that the people of Mongdong Station will die if they leave them like this. Unless they are incredibly unlucky, the people who have become drifters will soon fall prey to other groups, just like the Landlord Coalition members who left Chungmuro. He then observes that Sangha looks sad and asks her if she's upset that they didn't get to make them their allies. He says she shouldn't trust people too easily. S knows this but still wants to believe in people, and this is why he has been able to make it this far. Suddenly, Hong calls and informs him that the station is already under attack and a large number of people have been killed. 3 people were responsible for the killings. Hong asks Dokja who they are, but he doesn't know. He can't believe they ran off as if they knew he was coming. When they arrive, they are notified that Mongdong Station is currently unoccupied. They ask him if they will take over the station. He places his flag there, claiming the station. It is reported that Mongdong Station has been taken over and that a station he has taken over cannot be lost unless he loses his flag or his HQ. The contribution points of the red flag increase, and he expands his territory by taking over another station. In the meantime, a new hidden scenario arrives, and the king's path opens up for them. The precise condition is that they must take care of 10 or more stations within the given period. The time limit is 10 days, and the leader, along with everyone in his group, will die if they fail to take over at least 1 station per day. Sangha asks him if he will be okay. Wei Hong is glad that he is the leader. Dokja wonders if they are good people or naive, as most would be green with envy that he got the hidden scenario. They ask him if they should call him His Majesty from now on, and Dokja just says they must be joking because he doesn't want anything like that. Hewen says if the hidden scenario is actual, they should try to take over a new station right now. The hidden scenario again appears,